Center in Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome to Dr. Greg Sage, set to bring you the play-by-play story. As I mentioned, this is the opener for both teams in the Ohio Valley Conference. And so, Greg, let's take a look at what the pundits thought going into the season.
Yeah, Murray State and Austin Peay picked atop the league. Such talented upperclassmen returning. Belmont picked third, an unusual place, George, when you consider 15 straight years Belmont's either been first or second in the conference.
Now, this is an unusual setting. I mean, let's be honest, 2020 has been unusual, period. But as we start into players who will be important tonight, who knows what Tennessee State is bringing to the table. This is their first game. Belmont coming off a disappointing loss against Samford.
Yeah, Belmont's got an outstanding freshman from Cleveland, Tennessee, George and Jacoby Wood, but we'll see Mark Freeman here first, one of two returning starters for the Tigers. Almost 5 assists per game for Freeman, a sophomore from Memphis, very talented floor general. He'll be having to take a greater load tonight with the absence of Carlos Marshall, Tennessee State's leading returning scorer, out due to injury.
Yeah, so a lot of question marks around TSU. This being their first game because of COVID cancellations. There is Casey Alexander on the Belmont sideline with Jacoby Wood, who will not be in the starting lineup tonight, but obviously will do a lot of playing.
Yeah, started the first 4 games, George. Outstanding freshman, averaging nearly 15 points per game. Had 17 Saturday night, did a lot of his damage from the free throw line. 3rd in the country among freshmen in free throws taken and made. He'll get that sneaker adjusted by the time he gets on the floor.
Kevin Mathis, Alfred Smith, Chase Shaw, the officials, and the opening tap is won by Belmont. They are the home team in the white, Tennessee State in the traveling blue. TSU opens man-to-man, which is no big surprise at all. That's a 3-ball right off the bat. Luke Smith makes it 3-0.
Yeah, George had a career high, or Belmont career high, 24 on Saturday, 5 more three-pointers, and a great start for Belmont. And you see the added dimension that Ben Shepard offers Belmont, now inserted in the starting lineup.
Looks like Belmont opens man-to-man, and the first turnover of the night goes against the Tigers.
Yeah, still getting used to a new lineup. You saw that time, just a little bit impetuous drive from Josh Linder, the transfer from Georgia State.
And when you say transfer, boy, TSU has a bunch of them. This is pretty much a new roster that Brian Penny Collins has put together. His 3rd year at Tennessee State, and a pretty successful rebuild early. That jumper missed, and here come the Tigers.
Yeah, again, you'll see Freeman is the primary ball handler for Tennessee State.
Joe Hall out of the corner. Missed on the 3, and this is Grayson Murphy pushing it for Belmont. Hollander missed on the 3. And again, here come the Tigers. We'll take a look at the starting lineups of these teams, brought to you by Jostens, the official recognition company of the OVC.
Yeah, tough miss at the rim that time for Shaquem Johnson.
That's Caleb Hollander, and Belmont's lead is now 5.
You know, George, I often tease with voice of the Bruins, Kevin Ingram. Caleb Hollander, a little bit of that white men can't jump Woody Harrelson game, but he's effective. He gets it done.
Wow. I like it. That ball knocked out of bounds by the aforementioned Caleb Hollander.
Far better start, George, and we'll detail that later in the broadcast, but it's been 4 slow starts for the Bruins, really behind significantly at the first media and already up 5-0.
Well, you know that was a point of emphasis tonight for Casey Alexander. There's no way that he's going to be satisfied with that for long. Good move to the bucket. That's Mark Freeman, the young man out of Memphis, and he gets TSU on the board.
Did a great job eluding Muzinski at the rim.
There is Nick. Cross court to Smith. And that's Shepard.
This guy is going to take a huge leap this year, George. Obviously, Bruin fans didn't see him in the trip to D.C., just getting back, candidly, from some contact tracing like so many of us in America. But Ben Shepherd, I think you might see that leap that Adam Kunkel took from freshman to sophomore year.
Young man out of Atlanta who's got a world of potential. First foul of the game is going to go against Luke Smith. And it is a shooting foul.
Yeah, Shaquem Johnson, George, one of the top offensive rebounders in the OVC during his time. Does most of his work along the baseline, but he has, as you saw there on the first attempt, a little bit of an unusual free throw motion. You might remember the former UNLV All-American and great NBA player Larry Johnson. A little bit unusual, not maybe a smooth stroke. And already the first substitution as we get Ravel Moody.
Boy, that is a little different. So he goes 0 for 2, and as a lot of you know, when you get into conference play, and a lot of these games are tight, 60s and 70s, you need to hit your free throws. That's Luke Smith. Mazinski with a second crack at it, and a new shot clock for Belmont and a foul on TSU.
Well, already in the first 3 minutes, George, we've seen some things that were a bugaboo for Penny Collins and the Tigers last year. They were tremendous. Great field goal percentage shooting, great field goal percentage defense, but free throws, fouls, and turnovers really plagued the Tigers last year. As you see, the 2006 Belmont graduate and team captain in Belmont's first NCAA tournament team.
It's great to have him back here third time, and if this had been the normal crowd, he would have gotten a very warm ovation. What a save there to Shepherd, and that's Smith for 3.
Yeah, that was great. Trademark Belmont basketball. Good skip pass by Musinski, but Murphy really kept that play alive, George. You called it. He dove into the deep corner.
Luke Smith has a pair of trays early, and Belmont's lead is 8, so they've gotten off to the kind of start that Casey Alexander wanted. Shot clock inside of 10. Murphy the steal, and that's going to be a goaltend.
Yep, got up on the glass. Great hustle getting back that time. I believe it was Moody who committed the turnover. But far greater activity, George, than we saw Saturday against Samford. First, stopping the drive, and then Grayson Murphy, third in the country last year in steals, was the OVC Defensive Player of the Year. And boy, it was actually Linder that time hustling back, nearly wiped it off the board, but fast start Bruins.
Yes. Evan Bronze checks into the game for Belmont, big 6'9" freshman out of Iowa City, Iowa.
Maybe a different physique from another Evan that Belmont knows and loves, in Evan Brads.
Yes, who I just talked to about a week ago.
Boy, he's got plenty of stories from the NBA bubble. So proud of Evan and his career with the Celtics.
I didn't dare tell him that.
Well, they had a nice run. It's just
sure
unfortunate
did.
for Boston. Maybe just can't quite get over the hump to the finals. But I don't think Evan's going to trade his place on Brad Stevens' staff anytime soon.
You got it. First dead ball timeout. A little more than 4 minutes in. Belmont by 10.
The parties, and a little more about the people. Finding little ways to show your appreciation.
Come here, honey.
So keep sharing the love, little by little.
Belmont with a big lead early, 12-2, and keys to the game are brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Department. Designate before you celebrate, because fans don't let fans drive drunk.
Well, going into the game, obviously, Coach Collins, not knowing what he had 3 weeks in, having played a game, balanced pace with patience. We've already seen some live ball turnovers. Attack the glass. Tennessee State, traditionally a tremendous offensive rebounding team, George. Belmont ready from the tip. I guess they get high marks for that one. And then mix it up. It's not just the physicality. It's kind of a double meaning. Physicality, not be afraid to mix it up, but also offensively, a little bit more off-ball movement. And we've seen that in the half court as well.
Jacoby Wood checks into the game for Belmont, and he has been a terrific addition to what they're doing. That's Tate Pearson missing on the 3, and here come the Tigers. And taking it coast to coast was Moody, and he got it swatted away by Bronze.
Yeah, tremendous job by Bronze at the rim. Alexander wanting a little bit more rim protection, but he'd probably want a guard to stop the ball a little bit sooner, not get all the way to the rim.
So the Tigers are down 10 early on the road, which is the last thing in the world that Brian Collins wanted. And I'm sure the message in the intermission was, let's be patient. Let's get our, gears going, get our bearings, and get something to happen. And that little flurry will give it back to TSU. With a young team that's not used to playing with each other, they need something good to happen early.
They do, and maybe a little bit of a quick shot that time by Mason Green, who was just into the contest. But, George, those looping cross-court passes, it's kind of like NFL throwing it late over the middle, and we saw one earlier with Grayson Murphy, and that time Jacoby Wood nearly a coast-to-coast score, but just couldn't do the tightrope on the sideline. Way more active defense by Belmont early on.
Yeah. I think Casey got their attention after a performance Saturday that really was not very Belmont-ish.
I can confirm, watching practice yesterday.
Well, that's good penetration by Freeman, and Green will head to the line because of it.
Yeah, again, though, really good contest by Evan Bronze. He matched the physicality, and though the shot nearly dropped, you make Green earn it from the free throw line. Interesting roster that Coach Collins has, George, in that a lot of newcomers, but he does have 11 upperclassmen. He, as you alluded to off the top, gone the transfer route. So many of his newcomers are actually freshmen, but 11 upperclassmen. So you're talking about 21, 22, even 23-year-olds. You're not talking about a new roster with 17, 18-year-olds.
No, it's an interesting mix he's put together, coming off a very good 18 and 15 year. There's a great block. That's Mitch Listow with the good defensive play.
Mitch is known far more for shooting than for rejections quite like that. And Shaquan Barrett is an outstanding JUCO driver. So Mitch attended to the scouting report and certainly made a big play. You're seeing early on, too, George, that Coach Alexander really does like the depth of his team. It's not starter heavy. He does have 12, 13 deep, and as long as everyone's healthy, I do think Belmont, as the season progresses, is going to play a lot of guys double-figure minutes.
And, of course, when you get to tournament time, thinking about the OVC tournament, if you have to play 3 in a row, that depth can really help you. What a move right there by Wood.
That was a Mr. Tennessee basketball type move right there, and the touch with the scoop finish.
That was big time. That's what most of us dream of doing at a local Y. That's Green again, and the backside foul goes against TSU. The start is becoming a real problem for Brian Collins' team. The last thing they needed was to get down 14-2 early.
Well, again, George, so much of what Tennessee State has done in the past, and they lost some experienced players. They lost Wesley Harris, they lost Michael Littlejohn, Carlos Marshall, their leading returning scorer, not here. So in those dry spells, you lean on your mainstay scorers, and this team is still finding its way. Who's going to kind of be that go-to player late in the shot clock? And they just need a measure of patience here and weather the storm.
And that's where having games canceled early really hurts them in preparation for this team. That one is missed by Wood, and here comes TSU the other way. As Greg mentioned, this is a team a year ago that became a really tough out in the OVC, but they have had to sort of rebuild it. Boy, that's a good drive right there. Shaquan Barrett, his first field goal to cut the lead down to 10.
Yeah, he did a good job of keeping his dribble. Ooh, snake-bitten block call there is looked like Muhammad, who just came back into the contest, tried to draw a player control foul.
And that's Muhammad's second foul early, and they really can't afford to lose him right now. Muhammad, a transfer from North Idaho. That's a long ways from Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, he had a nice year last year, George. Very versatile player, but that North Idaho team was loaded, so it wasn't as though he was going to put up 25, 30 a game.
Wood missed that time on the 3, and the backside rebound to Womack.
I think Casey Alexander doesn't mind Wood showing that aggressiveness, George, but you'd like to do it maybe with Nick Muszynski getting a touch first.
Boy, Fitzgerald just threw up a brick, and here comes Belmont, and that's Grayson Murphy.
Boy, he's such an outstanding finisher through contact, George. That's a rare miss at the rim for Grayson.
And on the other end, Womack gets that one to fall, so TSU has scored 4 in a row to get it back within 8. Muszynski, here's one of his skills, the kick out to Hollander. And look at Grayson Murphy fight on the inside. That's a young man in the rebounding world that simply wants it.
Well, it's extraordinary, George. 7.5 rebounds a game last year, the nation's leading rebounding guard. And then this year, he had double-figure rebounds in the first 3 games and is averaging 10 rebounds a game from the point guard position. He's
it's
6'2".
Absolutely unheard of.
He's not Magic Johnson's size here at the point guard position. It's a gift, and Belmont welcomes it.
It's a desire, and it's also sort of a knack for knowing where the ball is going. You see that sometimes. Some kids have it, and this just in, I didn't.
Great tip ahead by Murphy.
Smith tried to finish, but here come the Tigers on a 2-on-1 and a good feed, but a better defensive play on the other end by Shepard.
Yeah, Hollander and Shepard both stayed with the play, and boy, end to end.
Play a little bit sloppy, which is not a big surprise early. And are they calling that a good defensive play? They certainly are. As we go to the second dead ball timeout, 11:46 to play in the first half. Belmont has jumped out early, and they lead the Tigers by 8.
So keep sharing the love, little by little.
8 minutes in with Belmont holding a 14-6 lead. These two teams certainly no strangers to each other. And with that in mind, the series history is brought to you by the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife. Help us to keep Kentucky wild.
Well, that last 2-minute stretch was pretty wild, George. End-to-end action. Neither team really getting a field goal. And there you see the series history. Belmont is 20-3 in the Division I era. Like to keep it going today, but TSU's kind of gotten their bearings after that start, George.
Yeah, which is what they needed coming out of the last time out. That shot missed by Johnson. Johnson, a year ago, a 62% field goal shooter. So normally when he gets it down on the block, he's pretty good. Belmont with some good ball movement.
Yeah,
Braun's missed on about a 4-foot half hook.
Yeah, that was their 4 out, 1 in, and Evan Braun's is a very good finisher. Casey doesn't mind that. Belmont getting high percentage shots, but the Bruins are one of their last 8.
The Tigers offensively miss on the 3, but they get the offensive rebound. Good hustle by Fitzgerald, leaving Barrett open. Fitzgerald, a 3rd try, and Belmont survives.
Yeah, TSU probably deserved the payoff that time. Really good work on the offensive glass.
Boy, Luke Smith has gotten off to a nice start. Young man who transferred from Sewanee. He's got 8 early.
Yeah, he's really provided a nice scoring punch. George was a Division III All-American, averaged 18 a game, and he's eclipsing that at the D1 level early on. Pretty extraordinary.
You know, for what you would think would be a big transition, D3 to D1, doesn't look like it's bothered him at all.
Oh, and he just stuck his nose in there and stripped the ball from Johnson.
And the foul is going to go against Barrett. You know, when you think about that, Greg, D3 to D1, there are not many people that make that jump, number one, to even try it, and number two, to be successful with it.
Well, I think the highest profile in that, and there, hopefully Johnson's okay as he flew up over Shepard's shoulders on that loose ball foul. Most notable recently is Duncan Robinson, who obviously ended up transferring to Michigan, has had a great career with the Miami Heat. Luke Smith would take anything close to that.
Oh, gosh.
And with that shooting, he's going to keep it up, already into double figures.
Nice timing on that.
Well, you set it up, George. 11 early for Luke Smith.
And so Belmont's lead is back now to 13.
Think about Luke Smith, too, George. He's not shy. He's come right in here, and he said, Adam Kunkel, if there are shots there, I'm going to take them.
Shot clock inside of 10 Tigers. That one appeared to go out of bounds off of Barrett, and so the turnover gives it back to Belmont. And Penny Collins says, we need a 30-second timeout to talk about it.
Yeah, again, you see the convergence on the baseline, Musinski and Shepard, such a length there and activity. And that wasn't a passive rec league double team on the baseline. TSU didn't want any part of it, and unfortunately the deflection went off of them and turnover back to the Bruins. But a first 10 minutes, interesting enough, George, we've seen the hot start again for Luke Smith with the scoring. He's displayed the floater, but done most of his work from behind the arc. That's one thing that Coach Alexander and the rest of his staff would like to see. Somebody else complement Luke Smith from behind the arc. Obviously, you lose Adam Kunkel, you lose Nick Hopkins to a grad transfer. Tyler Scanlon, who we both know had such a tremendous, impactful grad transfer year last year. And that will come. It'll probably come in the persons of Tate Pearson, certainly Ben Shepard right there, and Mitch Listow off the bench. But I know that Coach Alexander is liking to see a little bit more spreading out of that perimeter shooting from behind the arc.
For those of you who have not seen Belmont, this is a team that won the OVC postseason tournament in a classic victory over Murray State. Shepard will get a pair at the line on a blocking foul. But to go back on that, and Greg, I know you were there that night, like everybody else who made it to the big dance and then a week later had the rug cut out from them, what a tough story.
Well, as Ben shoots the first of two here, George, and just dips out. I mean, certainly Belmont's seniors, Michael Bankert, Seth Adelsberger, they had already made NCAA tournament trips, but for Tyler Scanlon to come in, make such an impact, have an iconic play, a game-winning shot to win a conference tournament, and not be able to get the payoff in March Madness, that was heartbreaking for me, for him, but hopefully in the not-too-distant future when Belmont's back in the bracket, Tyler Scanlon will maybe be an honorary member of the bench. I think that would be appropriate.
Mark Freeman's second field goal gets TSU back within 12. And you think about all of the leagues where it's probably one and done, where you have to win your postseason tournament and then to not get in. Ooh.
Sorry, George.
No, that was nasty on all ends down there.
Yeah, that was a risky pass, and Linder and Michael Shanks collided under the goal. I guess they're going to award the ball back to TSU.
I mean, we kind of saw it all over the college basketball world. A good friend of mine, Darren Horn, won his league at Northern Kentucky, never got the chance to reap the rewards. Same thing here at Belmont. It's one of the sad pieces of what we're all going through in this world. It's called COVID.
And on that one, George, there's really no when you can turn the page and say, oh, you can get the payoff at a later date. That one's not going to happen, especially for those who ended up losing their eligibility, such as Scanlon and Adelsberger and Bankert, as we alluded to earlier. Not exactly sure the stoppage here, maybe just some housekeeping with some substitutions. I did see that Belmont inserted Frank Jackie Bisick, the freshman from the Chicago area, George. He had played well in the D.C. tournament, but did not play at all on Saturday, so good to see Frank get some minutes early.
Tennessee State looking for some offense right now. 8 points in the first 11 minutes, and Brian Collins knows that's not going to get it done. Pretty good ball movement, and Joe Hall, his first field goal. Young man who's a sophomore out of Springfield, Missouri, and the lead cut down to 10. Musinski, there's the passing ability. It looked like Wood stepped on the inline.
Yeah, again, not a bad decision by Musinski, and Wood had a driving lane baseline. But it's interesting, no really traditional five-man center. Coach Collins had Ben Kone last year as a post defender. interesting that Muszynski's looking to pass out first rather than go ahead and attack and score.
It's a trait that has served him well in his first 2 years plus on the college level. That's
Wow.
Linder. I don't think he meant to use the glass. In fact, I would bet the house he didn't.
No, it was a little bit of an awkward delivery, but a nice shot.
So-
At least a nice result.
Yeah, so TSU, 2 trips down the court, are successful, and they cut it to 8. And Shepard, an offensive foul.
Yeah, it's almost identical possessions offensively. As Muszynski's maybe lobbying for some post defense foul, he's got to try to attack early and try to get some scores for Belmont.
Dead ball timeout comes at the 7:57 mark. Belmont leads it by 8.
Wild.
Well, it's the OVC opener tonight from the Curb Event Center in Nashville, Tennessee. George Plaster, Greg Sage bringing you tonight's telecast, and Belmont at the moment leading by 8.
Yeah, George, 2 of Belmont's roster members, juniors Grayson Murphy and Nick Muszynski, you see them there. They've been nominated for the Lou Henson Player of the Year award, which goes to the best mid-major college basketball player in the country, and it's rare to have teammates up for that award. OVC really deep this year. That's 2 of the 6 nominees from the conference. Obviously, players like Terry Taylor from Austin Peay, Tevin Brown from Murray State, and ironically, those 2 teams face off tonight as well.
Boy, don't
Good backdoor.
Nicely done. So TSU, with that bucket by Linder, has gone on an 8-0 run, and suddenly it's a 6-point game.
Yeah, Muszynski's got to keep his poise. As it went to the under-8 media, he was trying to lobby to the officials that the TSU post defenders weren't even trying, that they were just being overly aggressive with body blows and lower body riding him out. So, but again, Muszynski's been around the block, George. I'm sure he's seen a lot of physical post defense, so he's got to rise above mentally and just play through that. And here he's earned a trip to the line.
Young man got a world of talent out of Pickerington, Ohio.
Yeah, amazing. That's his first point of the game, and we played 12 and a half minutes.
Tonight he's looked more to kick it out as opposed to just taking it aggressively.
And it's interesting, Tennessee State is elected to not front or three-quarter the post. They've allowed the post entry, so Moose is catching it in one-on-one defense. And as you alluded to, maybe a little bit more aggressive. Nearly a walk that time.
Shot clock at 15. Green threw up an air ball, and Hollander got the rebound for Belmont. And again, we've got rough play inside. 13 is Mason Green. And they caught him doing a lot of what you talked about with Muszynski.
Yeah, again, George, last year Coach Collins had Jalen Washington. I alluded to Ben Kone, maybe more traditional post defenders. And Green was doing the best he could, but that was clear to the officials.
Nick Muszynski missed on the front end of the 1-and-1. Tigers down 8, but a chance to, given how poorly they have played on offense, to be down 8, they got to feel pretty good. Muszynski with the block there.
Yeah, exactly, George. You see that length to be able to deter shots on the perimeter.
Shepard, long-range bomb. He has 6, and the lead is back to 11.
Yeah, that's a sight for sore eyes for Belmont fans. Ooh, fortunate there.
And boy,
twice.
Muhammad at point-blank range, Greg.
Yeah, but again, we saw that Saturday with Sanford, George, where even off of a make, not stopping the ball, Muhammad is an athletic wing, but not a primary ball handler, and just straight line driving, missed the first, but stayed with the play, and Casey Alexander won't be pleased with that.
Muhammad is out of Seattle.
He was a good free throw shooter last year at North Idaho, Georgia. Had to deep into the intranets to find his stats, I must say. He was up over 70% from the line and 55% from the floor. I guess he averaged 12 and 6.5. And it's a good-looking stroke.
Yeah, got good rotation. By the way, you get the Hustle Award.
Well, North Idaho maybe doesn't have the exact same stat access that Duke and Kentucky do, but we found it.
There's Mazinski on the block, and that time he just didn't get a very good angle.
He did the good work. He got deep post position, 2 feet in the restricted area, and he went up with a flip rather than a power shot, and a great drive again by Freeman.
That's his 6th point, TSU. Now back within 8. Kind of a seesaw game here in the first half. This time Mazinski misses on the half hook, but Grayson Murphy cleans it up.
Yeah, again, but you just see how Muzinski breaks down the defense, George, draws so much attention. So even if he misses shots, there are other opportunities for players. Freeman again.
This young man's had a good first half. That scoop gives him 8 points on the night so far. And there's Murphy again.
Great extra pass, Hollander. He could have taken a contested 10-foot floater, but why not give it to Murphy at the doorstep? But this is where Belmont's got to do a better job stopping the ball.
And that's exactly what you're talking about right there. Lanier threw up a shot that was nowhere close. And on the other end, Shepard is called for traveling.
That was a tough call. I thought they might just let it play out because tough to travel when you're juggling the ball, and he didn't catch the ball cleanly. That's what Coach Alexander is saying to the outside official. Great no-look pass, and if Ben had caught it cleanly, would have been an easy 2, or at least a free throw attempt. Great job by our crew on the replay. Deemed to have caught it before he came down. But,
yeah, and that replay kind of showed that did not happen.
But you see the dimension that Ben Shepard adds to Belmont on both ends of the floor, George. His defensive activity, his length, but also his tremendous offensive prowess.
Good play on the backside.
Yeah, Bellinger, who had a nice DC tournament.
There he is, E.J. Bellinger out of St. Peters, Missouri.
Nice post defense by Johnson, and bunny hop steps by Derek Saban as he went into his move, George. I apologize that time, but yeah, Bellinger, you see the activity, and this is where Tennessee State, they've got to exhibit a little bit of patience offensively, not go with the risky cross-court passes that Bellinger just intercepted.
We've got a foul. I think that's on Caleb Hollander.
Well, as the game slowed down, George, you're seeing that Tennessee State is really just starting their offense with a high ball screen and trying to have Freeman create, either get into the painted area himself or drive and kick for a teammate. And that's reaped dividends during this last stretch after Belmont had its largest lead of 14.
Freeman was a Class AAA Mr. Basketball finalist from Memphis Southwood, and in that city, he probably beat out some pretty good players to achieve that. On the other end, after his turnover, Shepard made a good save on the baseline.
Good transition defense, though, Tennessee State. That could have been an easy 2 opportunity.
That one goes off the knee of Saban, and the turnover will give it back to Tennessee State.
It's been an interesting half, George, because Belmont, they lead by 10. They've been in control since that nice 14-2 open. But turnovers are starting to pile up. That's 7 for the Bruins, 8 for Tennessee State. So even though they've had this nice working margin, it's not been the cleanest half for the Bruins.
This is Tennessee State's first game. For those of you who may just be joining us, COVID had several of their early games canceled. On Belmont's end, this is their 5th game. And when you think back to a year ago, we might have been a little farther into the schedule by now. Either way, dead ball timeout comes at the 3:54 mark. Belmont, the home team, leads it by 10. He knows him even better than I do.
Yeah, George, coincidentally, my first year at Belmont in 2006 was Ryan's senior year, senior captain on Belmont's first NCAA tournament team, and he carries that with such pride. I know that a few years ago, Belmont honored the 2004 team that Brian was a part of as a sophomore that upset Missouri, nearly beat John Calipari in Memphis, and earned an at-large bid to the NIT, which at that time was extraordinary for Coach Bird's program and really a next step for them. because I think Joe Hall will earn the bonus.
You know,
but Brian has such pride in the Belmont program and thinks of Coach Bird and Coach Alexander with such affinity. But at the same time, he wants to make his own mark at Tennessee State, and he's doing a tremendous job in his own right.
There is Brian Penny Collins. I think all of us who got to know him knew that he would be a Division I head coach at some point. He got that opportunity at a very early age, and tonight, for the third time, he comes back as the visiting coach. That's Murphy. That one hit the side of the backboard. This is the closest Tennessee State's been in a while, down 8. And here comes Bellinger for the Bruins.
Sorry, George. Interesting lineup for Belmont. No Bronze, no Musinski. You got Jackie Bisick at the 5.
Tate Pearson missed on a top-of-the-key 3. Nearing the end of the first half here at the Curb Center.
You know, if nothing else, George, Tennessee State started to slow the tempo. No more live ball turnovers or quick shots.
That 3 missed by Muhammad, who is not afraid to let it fly from outside. He's got some good touch.
They've at least gotten, you see in transition defense, they've got numbers behind the ball and forced Belmont to score in the half court.
Shot clock at the moment inside of 15. And so now they've got to get serious. It's down to 8. That's Smith with a head fake. It's down to 3, and somebody's got to let it fly.
Yeah, just again, a little bit of a stagnant possession. Jackie Bisick at the 5's unusual. I think Coach Alexander just wants to see what that looks like. They got to have off-ball movement.
Freeman has been their star. Somebody committed an offensive foul.
Yeah, I think you got Muhammad on a moving screen, George, to initiate offense. A little bit of a tough break for Tennessee State because they've done a nice job of getting defensive stops. Belmont hasn't scored in nearly 3.5 minutes. Meanwhile, TSU no baskets in 3.5 minutes. So we've been stuck on this score 8-10 for quite a while here.
By the way, Muhammad's 3rd foul. They could ill afford to lose his size inside.
And to your point, George, you may see Belmont try to get a touch here to Musinski with Linder having to defend inside.
Right on cue, he gets a little bit of a double team there and just didn't get the good roll. Linder made a good catch on the inside and then pops about a 14-footer.
It's interesting, George. Tennessee State, they're kind of the anti-modern basketball. They're shooting a lot of mid-range jumpers. Usually everything's like that at the rim or from behind the arc.
That is about as good a backdoor as you can get because Grayson Murphy came wide open, his 8th point, and Belmont back up double digits. And as soon as I say that, Tennessee State says, by way of Mark Freeman, we're going to cut it to 7.
Yeah, as you can see, if we cut to the Belmont bench, Casey's not exactly thrilled with Grayson Murphy that time. I know the scouting report is to go under ball screens and keep Freeman out of the painted area, but that was a little bit too casual. I mean, Freeman could just kind of yo-yo dribble and get almost like James Harden comfortable into his shot. As we see the replay here, Grayson just kind of collapses under Johnson's screen, and Freeman just lines it up. You can still have a presence above the screen and then rotate under and still keep the ball out of the painted area. It's not easy. It's why ball screen offense is really challenging to deal with. But major high marks for Tennessee State after the start. It was 14-2 and 20-6, and then now suddenly it's only 7. So TSU has done well.
And you can see why Freeman was an all-OVC freshman a year ago. This young man has got some skills. He's got 11 of their 24. Smith misses on a long 3. So here's TSU. They could get it within 6 or 7 in the final minute of the first half. That time Freeman looked like he got the ball stuck on his hip. And we got an offensive foul going the other way.
Yeah, I guess they got Shaquan Barrett on a hook as he tried to get away from Mitch Listow on that drive, George, but player control, so non-shooting, even though Belmont is in the bonus.
The hook is a great move as long as you don't get caught.
Yeah, chance for a 2-for-1 here for Belmont if they go.
They get it down low to Mazinski. There's the double team, and he was able to beat it.
Yeah, amazing. Nearly an entire half played, and that's Muzinski's first field goal. And maybe one of his more difficult, through 2 men at the rim. But a big basket. Belmont desperately needed it.
Game clock down, as you see, to 25 seconds.
Yeah, about a 2.5-second differential, George, so the Tigers can essentially play for the last shot.
Which is exactly what they're trying to do here.
And sometimes Belmont would come with a surprise double team, but it's too late in the clock to do that now.
Freeman's screen leaves Fitzgerald open. Offensive rebound, good feed, and Johnson on the slam to end the first half. So all things considered, given the start that Tennessee State had, they've got to be thrilled to be down only 7.
Yeah, again, George, they did a good job of hustle plays and cutting into the margin.
Halftime activities coming up with Belmont at home leading by 7.
Parfum.
Season, and for Belmont fans, hopefully portending things to come.
Halftime stats now, right on cue, brought to you by Wilson Sporting Goods, the official basketball of the Ohio Valley Conference.
Yeah, Belmont's had some poor rebounding margins in recent games, and certainly Saturday when you miss that many shots and you shoot in the low 30s, the other team's going to get a lot of defensive rebounds. But in that half, Tennessee State got 6 offensive rebounds, though they only got 3 second-chance points. I just thought, George, midway through the half, Mark Freeman really started to dictate the tempo, change the flow of the game, and Belmont's fast start was ever so slowly melted away. And even though Belmont probably feels they should be up 10 or 12, they're only up 7.
Well, you're making a great point. Freeman was the difference in keeping them from falling apart. That ship was about to sink, and he sort of took over.
Yeah, Coach Collins did a nice job of managing his timeouts and really getting his team more relaxed and comfortable and playing together, and rather than playing quote-unquote hero ball, playing more team basketball, and you saw that the latter portion of the first half.
You know what? I love that term. We've been hearing it a lot. Hero ball. Here in Nashville, Tennessee, 33-26. Belmont leading Tennessee State. We'll have more halftime activities coming up. So both teams have made it back out on the court, and as you can see, they're meeting with their respective benches. Second half about ready to get underway. Greg, I've got to think on Tennessee State's side, they're thrilled to be down only 7, and I would guess that guy right there, Mark Freeman, that's going to be the emphasis, is get the ball in his hands.
He was outstanding. At times, he got pinned under the baseline and created some live ball turnovers. Tennessee State did have 10 in the first half, but high marks, 5 of 6, 11 points, played a lot of poise, got his teammates involved, and led as TSU has the first possession of the second half.
And they look at a Belmont man-to-man, which is no big surprise at all. Good penetration. There is Freeman, and he did a good job, even though the shot didn't go, of not drawing the offensive foul.
It was interesting. Late whistle, outside official Alfred Smith didn't have anything, and then Kevin Mathis from way out front called something as Shaquem Johnson tried to put in the offensive rebound. Guess they got it on Murphy.
Yep. Grayson's second.
Wow. Danced and everything. You see, George, it's just a little bit of an adventure for Johnson. He's such a great player, very active on the glass.
It's a weird free throw motion, and again, he goes 0 for 2, and I'll say it again, when you get into conference play, tough, tight games, you had better hit your free throws if you're going to win on the road. Looked like a bump. Joe Hall sort of gave Luke Smith a little too much, and he'll pick up the personal. Not a shooting foul.
Yeah, TSU committed several fouls to start the game, but they really quieted that down, and Belmont was not able to take advantage. Only took 5 free throws in the first half.
Grayson Murphy being hounded by Barrett.
That's what TSU does. Heavy ball pressure, heavy wing denial, switching a lot. So Belmont's just got to play together, screen and cut with more purpose.
Shot clock's at 5, and they got to bail out late. They were having trouble with the shot clock, and they got bailed out on a Joe Hall foul.
Yeah, that would have been a scoop and score for sure. Very chagrined Tennessee State bench. Quick to Murphy on the inbounds. And you talked about the free throws and then that call. Those are huge kind of swing plays that maybe don't show in the box score, George. Could have been 5 or even 3 had Johnson made his free throws, and now it's 9.
TSU was asleep on the inbounds play, and Grayson took advantage of it. Tigers got off to a very slow start offensively, picked it up late. And there's Hollander's 3rd foul of the game.
Yeah, just modest foul trouble for the Bruins. That's the first player with 3. Joe Hall has 3. And Muhammad, as you mentioned, George, picked up his 3rd late in the first half.
That's Joe Hall. Tough shot falling away.
Yeah, good defense by Smith. Joe Hall has a size advantage, but Smith forced him to the perimeter, a contested fadeaway. This is where Belmont's got to be aggressive. Again, small change foul on Linder as it looked like Hollander just lost his footing.
And for Linder, that is his 2nd foul, so we've had a little run of fouls here to start the second half. Belmont had a 7-point lead at the intermission. They've led by as many as 14. You've never felt that that's really been in doubt. But TSU's got to be happy right now to be single digits. And as soon as I say that, Luke Smith buries the 3.
Yeah, Casey Alexander is not a ball screen coach, George. He likes the traditional Coach Bird 4 out, 1 in, but you saw a Muzinski ball screen that time, and Smith knew what to do with it.
That shot may have been partially blocked from behind by Shepard. And ahead of the pack, Hollander got fouled.
Yeah, that's what Belmont wants to see. A little bit more effort in transition on both ends. First defense and then Hollander beating his man down the court. Boy, Murphy knows what to do with it. I think maybe Johnson on the trip. That is not an easy pass, George, on a dead sprint to a teammate. And Murphy, more often than not, has the perfect, maybe Kurt Warner, greatest show on turf type touch right there.
Nice. Hollander, who has very good touch, missed that free throw. So is there a Ricky Prohl before this broadcast is over?
Yeah, maybe so. He played at my alma mater, Wake Forest, George, one of the greatest wide receivers in ACC history. So I don't mind that reference at all. It's interesting, George, when the trip to D.C., Belmont had some odd player rotations. They had a lot of smalls and a lot of bigs. They didn't have a lot of wings without Michael Shanks, Ben Shepard, and Tate Pearson on the trip. So you're seeing a little bit more versatility defensively for Belmont.
TSU now down 13. So the first 2.5 minutes have not been good for them at all. There's a good aggressive move. Linder took it right to the hole for his 6th point.
That's a tough cover for Muzinski, George, because Linder can shoot and put it on the deck.
Luke Smith got into the paint and couldn't get it to fall, and Linder clears for the Tigers. Freeman, I thought, pushed off, and so did the official.
That's going to really please the Belmont coaching staff. Was not getting enough of that, certainly Saturday and during large stretches of the first 4 games. But Murphy moved his feet, showed his chest, did not reach, and the offensive player, Freeman, that time initiated the contact and the clear out.
Freeman didn't like the call, but what I would tell him is up from here at the concourse,
right.
If I saw it, it was fairly obvious.
And I don't think it should deter Freeman's aggressiveness. He's clearly been TSU's best player tonight.
Hollander missed out of the corner. Linder clears, but as soon as I say that, Luke Smith intercepts. Murphy to Hollander, who had it deflected and taken away.
Yeah, good idea by Murphy. And a great finish by Freeman. What a delivery by TSU in transition.
Freeman's 13th point cuts the lead back to 9. Smith will let it fly. Not this time. Rebound Muhammad. Tigers could get within 6 or 7.
Good patience. TSU thought about a quick shot, but at least they brought it back out. And Linder, a nice move.
He didn't get a very good roll out of it, but he will get a pair at the line.
It was almost a quick shot early on the secondary break by Muhammad. You could see he was fighting it. He really wanted to take that 18-footer, but reversed it. Linder had a little bit of an agility advantage on Bronze and worked away to the free throw line. You can see, George, how Casey Alexander is gone to his bench, gone to Bronze, gone to Jackie Bisick his time. Well, he proves me wrong here as he brings back Muszynski, but maybe a little bit of just urging Muszynski, hey, give us something down there. Get 2 feet in the paint, break down the defense, force a double team, and let us play off of that. And maybe a little bit of an offensive spark from Jacoby Wood as well.
Linder, who is a transfer from Georgia State University, hits 1 out of 2, and then sort of an unforced error gives it back to TSU.
Yeah, errant outlet pass, misconnection between Hollander and Jacoby Wood that time. And
Georgia State, by the way, right in the middle of downtown Atlanta. It is, for those of you who love baseball, basically a mile from Turner Field, right in the heart of downtown. And they've had some pretty good success in recent years. This is Muhammad. And he may have gotten a bailout there, and he'll head to the line.
Again, good response by Tennessee State. George, Belmont built it to 13, now back to 8. Muhammad going to the line out of the break.
It's been a seesaw kind of game. Right now, Belmont's lead is 8. Well, there is some big news both with Belmont and Tennessee State in the world of athletic facilities. Greg, take it away.
And Belmont, just in the shadows of the campus, building a facility for tennis, men's and women's basketball, and volleyball. And you heard the announcement earlier this fall, NBA player Robert Covington making a lead gift for Tennessee State's facility. And, given, I hate to say it, an arms race has made its way into the OVC, but it's the reality of the situation, and both campuses really needed it, and it'll prove them well.
Yeah, it's some exciting times. There is Belmont Athletic Director Scott Corley, former player. He was Rick Byrd's first recruit in what seems like 80 million years ago.
Well, the stat that I like, George, is Muhammad rims out the second. Oh, wow. Good hustle that time inside by Moody. Got inside Pearson on the free throw miss and gets TSU another possession.
Okay, so the Tigers down 7 at the moment. A bucket here would get them as close as they have been almost since the opening whistle. Not a great shot inside, and then an offensive foul on the Tigers.
Yeah, you're seeing Tennessee State really trying to slow the game, Kevin. I knew I was going to do that once. George, and just really try to play bully ball, get to the basket. Good job that time by Moody to post up a smaller man in Listau. and get all the way to the rim. Just didn't get the payoff. But the stat on Scott Corley, George, 320 three-pointers. And you know how great of a player Ian Clark is and was, but 80 more three-pointers than Ian Clark? Extraordinary.
That is. Good ball movement, set up Smith for the tray.
That might have been Belmont's best possession of the year, really. Side-to-side movement, everybody touched it, played off Muszynski. Ooh, errant pass, but goes right to Joe Hall.
Luke Smith leads all scorers in the game with 17. I mentioned earlier, a transfer from Sewanee, which is about an hour and 15 minutes as you head toward Atlanta from here. They get it down low on the block, and a good defensive play by Muszynski, and a frustration foul on the Tigers.
Yeah, great block by Muszynski on the jump hook from Green. In the opener against Howard, George, Muszynski became Belmont's career block shot leader and actually did it on a rejection on McClure Maker, one of the top freshmen in the country, who's a projected lottery pick. So
that's
a memorable,
the kid from Howard?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
A great player and projected NBA first-round pick, and already foul trouble in the second half. Muszynski in the bonus.
And that's already Tennessee State's 7th of the half. And so from here on in, with just over 5 minutes gone by in the second half, Belmont will be in the bonus, and they will try to take advantage of that.
Well, you saw how big that play was where Listau stood up Joe Hall, and then Belmont got the offensive foul on the rebound, because that would have cut it to 3. Now suddenly you blink and it's back to 12.
And so this is one of these danger points, and that's the last thing in the world that Tennessee State needed. Offensive foul.
Ooh, might have been on Freeman as well.
Look at the elbow.
Yeah, great job by our crew getting that with the off arm, extending it into Pearson's chest, and major foul trouble for Tennessee State's best player tonight.
And both of his fouls have been of sort of that crowbar variety. Muszynski missed, but he got fouled. He'll get a pair at the line.
And again, Muszynski, sometimes, George, he gets a little bit chagrined. He gets deterred. If the first couple of shots don't go, maybe he doesn't post as aggressively. Clearly on the arm that time by Green. So many good things happen for Belmont's offense when Muszynski gets deep post position. Either he scores for himself, he earns a trip to the free throw line where he displays that feathery touch, works the opposing team into deep foul trouble, and then when you start collapsing, that's when the three-pointers and the driving lanes open up. So, again, maybe some challenging words at halftime or early in the second half, and Muszynski's responded.
It's an important couple of years for him. He's got a lot of skills, got great touch.
He's got 2.5+ years because of this is the
right.
3 year.
Yeah.
He's halfway through his career.
That is a really good point. I hadn't thought about it. That baseline shot is a good one. Fitzgerald, his first field goal, and it's a bucket the Tigers needed. They're down 12.
Yeah, he's the outstanding freshman from here in Music City and displayed that nice baseline touch.
Again, they get it down low. Muszynski got a good roll that time.
He did, but you're seeing, George, he's getting 2 feet in the paint, much deeper, purposeful position, and he's liking what he has to work down low, especially if it's Linder or Moody.
He's got the big height advantage. He's almost able to shoot that shot on his tiptoes. There's a good interior pass. The layup is missed, and here comes Belmont. Up 14, 6.5 gone by in the second half. Good ball movement, and Wood buries the 3.
Yeah, great extra pass by Pearson. He could have had a good shot, but as Belmont likes to do, translate a good shot into a great shot. And really nice to see Jacoby Wood ring the bell. Had a little bit of a struggle Saturday from the field. Certainly did great work from the free throw line.
You kind of feel like Belmont has gotten a little bit of a breakthrough. Their ball movement in the last 2 or 3 minutes, some of the best we've seen all year.
Amazing what happens when you get consistent deep post position from Muszynski and you play off of that. And I think the other 4 players are certainly cutting harder and screening harder.
Smith with penetration. Muszynski got clobbered. There was not a lot of what you say go for the ball on that one, as we'll see here.
No, you got your money's worth. Johnson's like, hey, I don't want you to get an and one. Take it to the line. No risk of getting a bucket plus the foul. But again, Belmont's off-ball movement. Luke Smith is such an energizer buddy with his cutting and with his driving. And this has been nice to see for Belmont, just this recent stretch of Muszynski rising to the occasion, getting post position, scores, free throws. And also, too, George, his teammates continue to feed him and play off of him. Sometimes that's one of the biggest things in basketball is to ride the hot hand, and Muszynski has it right now.
Pretty good meal ticket. A year ago, he was second in the OVC in field goal percentage at almost 60%. So when he gets it down there, most of the time it's money.
He's picking up his rebounding, too. It was very meager stats at the half, and he's already had a quick start to the second half.
Out of the corner, Barrett hits the three, and we get an immediate timeout, which looks like it's going to go to a full. And so we'll take what is the media timeout. 12:19 to play in the game. Belmont's lead stretched to 15.
Get their revenge. Are you ready for Monday night?
Bob Fisher, who spearheaded the drive to have this building host the presidential debate, the final debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden in late October. That was quite an affair.
Well, when you talk about pelts on the wall or resume or LinkedIn page, George, Bob Fisher has quite the legacy. You talk about this building, numerous pristine Taj Mahal type buildings on this campus, athletics, academics, new academic programs, hosting not one but two debates, the service aspect, and out of the timeout, maybe a little bit of substitutions as Miss Listow gets a look.
That time he hit the side of the backboard, and here come the Tigers running. They have numbers, and it leaves Brown with a three, and the foul on the backside goes against TSU.
Yeah, that'll get us back-to-back breaks as this will be the under 12, George. But fortunate that time for Belmont, not good transition defense. And Brown, though he's more of a mid-range and slasher, that was a really good look, and it looked good in the air. Would have cut it back to 10.
So we had 20 seconds of basketball. We take you to the break with Belmont leading Tennessee State by 15.
Our part to keep Kentucky wild.
Well, in what is a very strange year, we welcome all of you back to the Curb Center. Conference standings. Let's take a look at what's going on in the road to the championship, presented by Delta Dental. Unleash your smile power with Delta Dental.
EKU's on the board, George. It's pretty unusual to be a week into December and already have a conference win, but Morehead State last night shot 67% from the floor and lost at EKU. Pretty extraordinary. By
the way, I got a little scoop for you. In a game that has a lot of people's interest, Murray State has jumped out to a 28-13 lead on Austin Peay about two-thirds of the way through the first half.
Yeah, that could be one with major implications come February and March. Good to see Derek Saban, if you're a Belmont fan. He struggled from the line Saturday. E.J. Bellinger on the overplay of Linder that time, but 12 minutes to go in regulation, and Belmont's already in the double bonus, George. So the Bruins really need to take advantage of that, pump it inside, or drive with Jacoby Wood and Grayson Murphy.
On TSU's side of this, they're down 16 and now make it 14.
Well, again, Murphy had done a good job, but with him on the bench, Coach Collins goes right to Freeman and straight line drive and score.
Freeman has 15 to lead his team in scoring.
And it's not just getting there, George. You've got to finish in traffic through the trees, and Freeman's had an outstanding game.
Wood got fouled about 15 feet away from the bucket. And as Greg mentioned, the problem for TSU is this double bonus thing. You commit 7 fouls in the first 5 minutes of a half, you are asking for trouble.
Yeah, it just deters the way you play defensively, and TSU really wants to be aggressive on the ball, aggressive wing denial, forceful in the post, maybe not front, but be physical from behind. And you just have to play with an arm tied behind your back because, as you alluded to, George, Belmont traditionally an outstanding free throw shooting team. It's a difficult way to get back in a game. And Jacoby Wood looks so comfortable at the line, already mid-80s from the stripe in his 5th game.
From Cleveland, Tennessee, up toward the East Tennessee area.
Boy, it was good to Belmont with Justin Hare, Plaz, and it's been likewise with Jacoby Wood.
2 for 2.
Both wearing 24 as well. I don't know if Jacoby did that as a nod to Justin Hare or not.
Do they know each other?
I don't know, but I think come at a future Bruin club or maybe a Hall of Fame banquet, they'll meet each other. Great defense, Belmont.
That's a desperation heave that almost went. And here comes Grayson Murphy. Belmont up 16 as we approach the midway mark of the second half. Make it 19. Jacoby Wood now with 10.
Yeah, Wood playing very comfortably. That was an easy rhythm three-pointer. Another great drive by Freeman. Boy, oh boy, the yo-yo dribble and then got all the way to the rim.
The scouting report for the rest of the OVC is try to keep him under control. He is a good-looking player. Sophomore out of Memphis. No doubt he grew up in a basketball-rich area. This time he finds Lanier. Good ball movement that time, and Freeman hits the three.
Yeah, playing with such confidence. Freeman's really not known for the three ball, George. Kind of was high 20s, right around 30, but on balance, rhythm ones like that, he's going to take and make, and suddenly TSU's cut into the margin.
He now has 20, so he's the leading scorer in the game. Wood off the glass. Offensive rebound, Saban, and we're going to have some more free throws.
It was interesting early in his career when he was recruited to Belmont. Rick Byrd wanted him to be a stretch four. He does have the ability to shoot. That time you see what Casey Alexander wants from him is attacking the offensive glass, being this bull in a china shop, throwing his weight around and making plays that way, not being more of a finesse outside player. But he's got to get the payoff. You do the hard work, you really got to make your free throws as Belmont comes back with subs.
Okay, I need some geography. Where he is from Slinger, Wisconsin. What's that close to?
Yeah, that's great. It's probably close to
Green
Milwaukee
Bay.
Or Green Bay.
Go Green Bay.
You went geography. It was a minor, not a major, George. I apologize to Derek's family. I should know that.
Well, you know what? We'll probably get cards and letters coming in.
You put me on the
Slinger,
spot.
Wisconsin. I know I did.
That's something you got to give me during the breaks, not live, but we'll work with it.
Kevin Ingram would never do that to you. Or would he?
Oh, totally would. And a good job by that time. Derek, good inside position, getting a strong defensive rebound.
We approach 9 minutes to play in the game. Belmont by 14. Shepard may have gotten a little out of control there. Turnover gives it back to TSU.
Well, he did such a good job on that action, George. It's kind of like a fake curl, and then you flare it back out. He got in triple threat position, pump faked, and drove, and I think a TSU player just got a little bit of a poke away, and it got Ben off balance, and ultimately the turnover there. So, again, Belmont, I think it was once 19 and now suddenly 14, and an opportunity to get closer.
Freeman set up Muhammad. Whoa, that was a brick.
And I think that's something that Coach Collins is going to look for, just like we mentioned with Belmont, is where is the three-point shooting going to come from? They lost Michael Littlejohn, Carlos Marshall on the shelf. You lose Wesley Harris, Jalen Washington. So TSU is finding where's that complementary scoring going to come from Freeman, but it's also from behind the arc. And I don't know if we got a Technical in addition to the common foul here, or what? Coach Penny, did you call timeout here, or just doing an impromptu? Oh, maybe it was a foul
out. Yeah.
Okay. That was Johnson's 5th.
Okay, help me with this. Mazinski has made a living tonight at the foul line. How many has he shot?
He is 7 for 9, and I think 8 of those have been in the second half, George, as he missed a 1-and-1 in the first half. And when you have such an ability, some big men really don't want to get fouled because they're in the 40s or 50s. But Muzinski, much of his career's freshman year, he was well over 80%. That's such a weapon from the free throw line. I mean, good touch. I mean, good rotation. And when you can do that time after time, think about the dimension it adds. Late in games when you need a press break, you can throw to Muzinski, great hands, and he can make his free throws. Tough break there, and I don't know if we got Hollander maybe fouling Moody down inside.
Wow. That surprised me.
I think Hollander is equally incredulous.
Yeah. Oh, big word.
Thanks, George.
Hollander's 4th, by the way. He goes out, and you can read lips almost and say, what did I do?
Yeah, Belmont 4 double figures, George. Smith 17, Muzinski 12, Murphy and Wood 10. And again, you mentioned Freeman and Gahan 20. That was a nice drive that time.
Muhammad's 4th point, and although his stock and trade is outside on the perimeter, when he put it on the deck there, he looked good doing it.
Yeah, TSU showed zone and rotated into man later in the possession. Yeah, Belmont's got to work. He can't get stagnant and let the possession go by.
They get it down low. Muzinski taps it in. Nick Muzinski with 14, 10 of those since the intermission. The long 3-ball is missed by Barrett, and Belmont rebounds. So the Bruins up 15 with 7:50 to play. Boy, Muzinski. Oh, Muzinski had good position, but the pass really wasn't on target. And I think that is Muhammad's 5th.
That was one of those, George, like a defensive back gets called for holding or pass interference.
Get ready. We got a lot of free throws coming. Belmont by 15.
They're going to have some difficult choices to make.
Well, as we head down the home stretch, Belmont leads Tennessee State by 15 and backed by popular demand. The always important OVC news and notes.
Yeah, Trey King had an outstanding week. George, the ZKU nearly upset Xavier on the road. He's one of many talented stretch 4 men, can put it on the deck, can go out and make a 3, but certainly be an impact in the painted area. And then Jacoby Wood, he shared OVC Freshman of the Week honors and certainly has displayed a lot of that offensive prowess today. But second half, the story has been at the man at the free throw line, George. Nick Muzinski's really asserted himself.
That's his 15th point. By the way, nearing halftime, Murray State cruising 41-18 at home against Austin Peay. Wow.
Yeah, mildly surprising. Again, Austin Peay towards the end of the year last year stagnated a little bit offensively, but given their talent and certainly the people that Coach Figger added, that is a very surprising score. Good hands by Tate Pearson, who fits that trademark Rick Byrd model, just does all the little things, the dirty work that maybe doesn't show on a box score. Makes a play right there.
There's some good ball movement, and Muzinski looked like he may have had that one partially blocked and taken away. On the other end, Freeman, who has been the big star, he just threw up a prayer right there.
Yeah, he got caught up in the air, and I think initially he wanted to make a cross-court pass in transition, and that was his lowest percentage shot of the game thus far.
Belmont running with a 17-point lead. Good ball movement. Smith buries the 3.
And again, Shepard didn't force it. As Jimmy Dykes would say, he drove the nail, came to a jump stop, and then kicked it to Smith, who I think Belmont had hopes of him being a very good three-point shooter, but the shooting in the early season has been extraordinary, and 6 more threes tonight.
20-point average, and that's exactly what he has right now with 6.5 to play. That one was last touched by Womack, so give it back to Belmont. So, no question, Casey Alexander wanted this team to get off to a good start. They did not play well Saturday. Something tells me they have heard about that a couple of times since, and the start was great. 14-2 in the early going, and now they've stretched it to 20.
And again, they've had to answer some responses by TSU. We alluded to it at halftime, George. Coach Collins had to be thrilled to be only down 7. But Belmont's really found something. Muszynski's been much more aggressive at getting deep posts.
Another offensive rebound, and Muszynski, who basically has rented out a condo at the foul line, will go there again.
Well, it just transforms Belmont's offense from being pedestrian and workable to being extremely difficult to stop. We talk about it a lot in the context of how can you score? Can you score from behind the arc, off the bounce, or inside, as Muszynski rolls in the first? And when Belmont first made the transition to Division I, George, they were pretty much a one-trick pony. It was behind the arc, and that was it. Then slowly they got post players like Adam Mark, Boomer Herndon and Andrew Preston on their first NCAA team. You start getting some size, and then suddenly you get transformational players like Justin Hare and Karan Johnson and Ian Clark and the players we have now. Certainly with Dylan Windler and Kevin McLean, who are enjoying great professional success, and you check off all of the boxes. But for Belmont right now, Casey Alexander really wants to play the traditional Coach Bird 4 out, 1 in, and to do that, Nick Muszynski has to answer the bell.
Here's one of the things to take note of as we get into January and get deeper into conference play, or we knock on wood and hope we do.
Great shot.
Yeah, that 3 goes down by Womack. But the point I was going to make was beating Tennessee State will get harder as this young group starts to gel.
Yeah, no question, George. And as we alluded to in different points of the broadcast, they're missing their top returning scorer in Carlos Marshall. That's a huge adjustment, and I know, as has been the case with Belmont, they've had a very disrupted preseason. Practice, no practice, game, no game. What does it look like? Who do we have day to day? And so I think Coach Collins has to be relatively pleased with the effort he's gotten today, as Michael Shanks a chance for his first career point in a Bruin uniform. It has to feel good.
Out of Bentonville, Arkansas. Do not ask me where that is.
I can do it this time. I struggled on Slinger, but Bentonville is in northwest Arkansas. It's actually the home of Nick Smith, who had a great career for Belmont. So hopefully I can pass to the next grade on that one. But Michael's an extremely nice young man and a great team player.
20-point Belmont lead, 5.5 to play here in Nashville. That will result in a pair of free throws for Monty Johal out of Springfield, Missouri. By the way, if you've noticed that there have been a bunch of free throws shot, how many have been attempted in this game?
A good one, George. Belmont's up to 67%, 18-27, and this will be 15-16 for TSU. So
43 free throws.
Yeah, we got 5:22 left, and both teams are in the bonus. So don't hold your water. You might have to reschedule your 8:30 dinner reservation, George.
Make it 9 o'clock with the microwave.
That's right. That's very good. But Joe Hall's had a nice game. I think he's provided what Brian Collins has wanted, just that steady assignment, purposeful player, does the scouting report, doesn't do anything crazy, but somebody you can count on.
This is a good time to play them as they're trying to gel. That looked like the ball hit the end line, and it did. So the point to be made again, when they start to gel, and in particular when they're playing at home in the Gentry Center, they will be a tough out, and that's what Brian Penny Collins is hoping for.
Well, to your point, George, another great back cut as Moody rolls it in. Given COVID, home court advantages have been really negated. We're seeing it here. We will definitely see it at the Gentry Center, where it's just not the same.
And a traveling violation is called. You know, that's the part that none of us quite can factor in, is for the first time in most of these great arenas around the country, the home court's gone away.
Yeah, two unfortunate possessions that time for Belmont. Broke the pressure, but Shanks a turnover on the baseline, and then that time Evan Braun's just shuffled his feet a little bit before getting an easy two as TSU's trying to extend the game.
Long three with some weird spin on it by Joe Hall. He had kind of that side spin, and the result wasn't all that good.
And we've talked about it throughout the broadcast, George. 4 for 20 from behind the arc, and I think Tennessee State's got a number of good pieces for Brian Collins, just looking for that complementary piece from the perimeter to help stretch and give driving lanes for these drivers. Oh, boy.
And that time Wood threw it to nobody, and ahead of the pack and laying it up and in is Moody. And Belmont takes a timeout. Casey Alexander not particularly pleased with that play. So the timeout comes with 4:16 to play in the game. The Bruins lead by 14.
Marthy's Tea for delicious pizza wings, one of 4 new sauces at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Well, if it were a tough, tight ball game, we would call this crunch time. It's anything but that right now. A little more than 4 minutes to play. Belmont jumped out to a 14-2 lead. They have really never looked back. So, Greg, what's coming up here in the coming days?
Well, first off, Belmont's got to finish this game, George. I don't mean to be a little bit presumptuous, but it was 68-46, and this is a 9-1 run. So I want to give Tennessee State their due of continuing to play and to press and trying to create something here as they work back into the game. But to your point, Belmont has got a big one on Saturday against Lipscomb and then return home the 16th against Kennesaw State.
Nick Mazinski will head to the free throw line. Let's take a look at the upcoming schedules, by the way, presented by Graduate Nashville Hotel. Make Graduate Hotel your home base for game day in Music City.
Yeah, the schedule for Nick Muzinski has been a lot of trips to the line, and he's been largely good. That time just off. He's now 12 of 16, George, and he's had an outstanding second half, rather. It was a pedestrian first half, but he's up to 18 points and 8 rebounds.
Boy, it's a great way to pad an average. When you go to the foul line 17 times.
Well, imagine what Shaquille O'Neal would have done if he actually gotten the 15-footer right.
That's a great point. Good shot right there.
Yeah. Barrett is TSU's cut it to 13 here.
Barrett has 9 points on the game. Inside of 4 minutes to play, Belmont trying to get its 4th victory of the year. This is Tennessee State University's first game of the season. For those of you who may have joined us late, they had a couple of games canceled. It's a weird year, and it's just one of the weird stats.
Well, they're going to call... I thought they were going to call Penn Shepard being out and then coming back into play without reasserting himself, but they say TSU did, and it should be a fresh 20 for the Bruins with 3:25 to go. Again, up 13, 70-57.
Good inbounds play again, and Shepard got himself wide open. That's about the 3rd time that Belmont has caught TSU napping.
Well, again, a lot of teams, George, have that pet play where it's just almost like a hot potato. Immediately when the inbounder gets it, they just throw a lob to the rim, either to an athletic wing or to a big man. And then that time it was a weak side screen that brought Ben Shepard right to the doorstep. And I do believe either Green, the 3rd Tennessee State front court player to have fouled out, joining Johnson and Muhammad.
For those who maybe have not seen Belmont before, it was a real tradition when Rick Byrd was here that they were as good as any team going on things like inbounds plays. And you know Casey Alexander has taken a few of those and used them to good measure.
Well, it's one of those specialty plays, and if you execute it right, you can get easy scoring opportunities, and this time it'll be from the free throw line for Ben Shepherd, but sometimes it's hard to score in the half court, George, and so if you have those sideline and baseline out of bounds plays to help you, why not use them?
Well, and in particular in conference play, Shepherd goes 1 out of 2, but in conference play, teams know each other. They scout each other. They know where the other team's going sometimes before that other team does. It does get hard. You made a great point. It gets hard in the half court. Ooh, that one just would not fall for Josh Linder. And he'll head to the line. And let me take that back. It was not Linder. It was Moody out of Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, Ramel Moody was a role player last year for Coach Collins. Made 22 game appearances and averaged 3 a game.
And he misses the free throw. What are they tonight at the foul line?
Yeah, again, it's been a big story, George. Now it's 7 of 17, and Belmont's 20 of 31, so a plus 14 for the Bruins from the line.
That might be a point of emphasis tomorrow when they practice. Might be a few extra free throws, because I'm a big believer in this. When you get into conference play, and in particular when you go on the road, if you're going to win, you had better hit your free throws.
Well, think about it, George, to your point. If once it got to 20, if it maybe had been 15 at that point instead, and now they're making this run, suddenly it's a 2-possession game. It has a totally different feel to it. But now Belmont's just going to play the clock game, use possessions, and then try to late in the clock get to the basket like that.
Yes, and it's tapped. Mazinski didn't get a very good roll, and it's Tennessee State's ball after a Belmont foul.
Yeah, that was pretty difficult for Belmont to stomach that time. Jacoby Wood misses a layup, and Muzinski, I don't know how he missed that putback. And then Murphy, 94 feet away from the basket, called for a loose ball foul. So clock stopped, 2:39 to go, and Tennessee State has a chance to cut closer.
It's almost like they have lulled Belmont into a little bit of a sense of false security, because look, have stranger things happened than cutting a 13-point lead? Yeah, they have.
Well, again, you got to give Brian Collins full marks, George, because he knows it's probably easier to score in the open court against Belmont, but I don't think he quite has the personnel to play an end-to-end game with Belmont. And so he's played a half-court game, and then now when he's needed to extend the game, as he's gotten now a 22-point lead cut in half to 11, he's done so. So really well-managed game by Coach Collins to try to give his team the best opportunity to win.
Freeman with a team-high 22 points, and now down 11. They show some full-court pressure, and Belmont's got to react to it.
Yeah, this is a possession again. Belmont use clock, and then late in the clock get to the basket either via the drive or Muzinski.
And right on cue, Nick got fouled again. Linder on maybe, what did Rafferty call it, the nickel dimer?
Small change.
It might have been a little nickel dimer right there.
It is a point of emphasis. You can see Linder, because he's undersized, using the lower body and riding him out with his lower body. But I know from a TSU point of view, that's got to be a difficult call. It really didn't impact the play.
That is Mazinski's 14th point tonight from the foul line.
If you would have told me he would approach a 20-10 game based on the first half, I don't think I foresaw that.
Mazinski 1 out of 2, so here come the Tigers. 2:15 to play. They are down 12. They need something big in a hurry, and they'll get a couple of free throws at the line.
Yeah, this has not gone Belmont's way during this last 3-minute stretch, George, because it's either been empty trips or 1 out of 2 from the line, and there you see that time hard drive by Womack. And Smith with the reach. He's just got to defend without fouling, just show his chest and not reach, because once you reach, it's
You're
almost
dead.
an automatic foul.
It's also been a tough game. You've never really felt that Tennessee State would make the run And so concentration for a full 40 minutes, it's been hard tonight.
No question. Probably the things that have held Tennessee State back, certainly it's not been the effort, but it's been the lack of shooting, both from the three-point line and then from the free throw line. Two big misses from Womack right there. As George, now they're 10 of 21.
And that will not get it done from the foul line. And there's an offensive foul on Shepard.
This is not going to go to ESPN Classic, George. This last few minutes is probably making Casey Alexander seethe. It's, Ben Shepard, he's trying to drive baseline to just get the initial defender off of him, but he just drove right into a charge. Just be strong with the basketball and make a sure pass. Don't do too much. There's really no reason to be going into this no man's land in the deep corner and along the baseline. So part of the learning process.
Hey, great line on your end. No, this will not get to classic status. Long three out of the corner is an air ball, and Grayson Murphy with yet another rebound. Under 2 minutes to play with Belmont up 12.
Well, again, George, I reiterate the point. Imagine if TSU had just had a couple timely threes and a couple more of these free throws. It would be exceedingly uncomfortable for Belmont.
And on certain nights, they probably will, as this young team tries to gel. Smith again.
That's been the difference. When Belmont has needed a timely shot, they've gotten it from behind the arc from Smith, and TSU hasn't gotten it tonight, but they will when they get Carlos Marshall back.
That is his 7th long ball of the night. And with 1:10 to play, Belmont about to put this into the deep freeze.
Yeah, Wood dribbling it here. Belmont still got 2 more possessions.
There's Wood leaving a wide open Shepard. And imagine that, Nick Mazinski going back to the foul line.
Well, you almost have to feel for, Muzinski's teasing with Freeman there. He's almost giving up a full foot trying to box out Muzinski. Shepard's not going to get a better three-point look. But Muzinski, this is actually going to tie the Curb Event Center record for free throw attempts in a game, George. Alex Renfro and Karan Johnson have it at 21, and Nick Muzinski's got 48.4 seconds to go to exceed it.
Did you pluck that out of thin air?
Well, somebody produces the game notes and might remember that. So I saw both games, and coincidentally, all 3 left-handers, Alex Renfro, Karan Johnson, and Nick Muzinski. Now,
well done.
Moose maybe a slightly different style of play.
Nick Muzinski with yet another free throw. When I said earlier he had rented a condo at the foul line, I was not kidding.
Well, again, George, if Belmont gets that Nick Muzinski from the start to the finish of games, they're going to be well served, because that Nick Muzinski is going to contend for OVC Player of the Year status. This has been an outstanding performance by Freeman up to 24.
Don't forget to stick around with us once this is over. We'll talk with Casey Alexander. Quick visit with the head coach. Looks like he's going to get a 4th win of the year after going 26-7 and winning the OVC title a year ago.
Some teams would just back off and play this out, George, but why not if you're TSU? You haven't played a game yet. Do some more situational stuff, maybe empty the bench and see some rotational players. There's nothing to replicate game action. You can't do this in practice, and so well done by Coach Collins to get some situational things done.
As you see, the benches with the social distancing, you're seeing that all over college basketball, where much more room on those sidelines.
No traditional point guard in for Belmont either, with no Smith, Wood, no Murphy. And going to get a reach-in foul is, I think, Malone on E.J. Bellinger.
Tell me a little more about Bellinger. This is the first time I've seen him.
Yeah, sure. Out of St. Louis, played 10 games last year as a true freshman. George, sophomore now. was an outstanding player for Zumwalt South, and almost 26, 27 a game as a senior. Really talented wing. Had big contributions in the DC tournament. George had 9 in a game. And honestly, Belmont needed his length and athleticism defending on the wing in that tournament when, again, they were so short-handed and only had 9 players available. And like so many Belmont players, you could say this high character, really great student, comes from a nice family, and certainly a good stroke right there.
He hits both of his free throws. The lead is 17. Under a minute to play in this OVC regular season championship. Opening game of conference play, which is always an exciting time. It's a little weird this year, but nonetheless, when you get into conference play, that's pretty good stuff.
I know both teams are just excited to be out there. It's unusual. I don't think TSU, past, present, or future, will ever have a conference opener be exactly their first game. It happens in football periodically, George, where you'll have your season opener be actually a conference game, but in basketball, so rare, and that was a hidden advantage for Belmont to actually have 4 games under its belt, whereas TSU, this was their first action. What a performance by Freeman, George. I mean, 25 meters running. I'd have to go deep.
Yeah.
I don't think to go to his career highs.
Make it 26.
Again, he was more of a complimentary facilitator last year, but he has shown to be more than capable of being a lead scorer.
So against the full court pressure, they get it into the front court, and Bellinger getting instruction from Casey Alexander to bring it back out, and this is the way all of this is going to end. Belmont is going to go to 4-1 on the year by virtue of a 15-point win. Tennessee State 0-1. You see the two coaches. I guess this is the new way that all of this happens, where you just sort of
wave.
Well said.
And I know it wasn't the result that Tennessee State wanted, George, but without Carlos Marshall, I thought they acquitted themselves exceedingly well. You found something with Freeman as a lead scorer, and I think players like Brown and Johnson will only acquit themselves more as the season progresses. You said it well during the second half. You want to get Tennessee State now. You don't want them in February because they're going to be an extremely difficult out.
And that is the hope for them, is that this young group will gel and they'll get better in a hurry. I see Casey Alexander getting close to ready. Greg, you're the man that ought to ask the questions. Let's hear them.
I don't know about that. Casey, I just want to make sure you got us. Can you hear us, Casey? Yeah,
okay.
Just go ahead and turn the mic, Casey. Sorry.
Oh, I got to laugh. That's great. I don't know.
I think we should allow Coach Alexander to stick to coaching. This is a little bit much.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Well,
he gave it the good college try.
He did. No, it's not his fault at all.
Yeah.
But he earned another victory. He earned his 30th victory at Belmont tonight.
And so, we're done for the night. 79-64 the final. I want to thank Greg Sage and the entire crew for allowing me to be a part of this tonight, kind of filling in for Kevin Ingram. Enjoyed it a lot from the Curb Event Center. We say good night, everyone.